Turn it up, swashbucklers. You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 9. My name is Phil Johnson. I am your host for the show. Welcome. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the nice recent reviews on iTunes and the new listeners. We have more than doubled our listens and downloads this month, which is very exciting. Very exciting. And I appreciate you listening because you are what keeps the pirate ship afloat, as Adam Carolla likes to say. And I feel like I should just steal that from him and make it mine now because he doesn't have a pirate podcast and I do. I got a cool show for you today. Ezra Buzzington is on the show, and I'll tell you more about him in a second. I am just back from the World Series of Comedy in Las Vegas. I spent a week out there. And actually, I'm doing this. I'm recording this early in the morning because PG&E is about to turn my power off. Not because I didn't pay a bill. I'm on top of my bills. No, they're doing some work on my street today. And in order to do that work, they need to turn off all the power for the whole day. And that's going to be a super drag because I have a lot to do today. And I think I'm going to probably end up at the local library working so that I have somewhere that has power, because my laptop will only last about an hour on its battery, and that's not nearly enough. And I have a ton of work to do today because I was in Las Vegas for a week at the World Series of Comedy. The World Series is a giant comedy competition and festival that features 100 comedians, 101 specifically, 101 comedians from all over the U.S., Canada. We haven't even had a couple international guys. There was a guy from France, a guy from Scotland. It's a fantastic festival every year. It's so much fun. I've been to 6 of these now, and I did not perform as well as I would have liked to this year. Here's what happened last year. Last year, I ended up in one of the hottest rounds of the week. Like, all 8 comedians on my round had amazing sets. The audience was super fantastic, and I ended up coming in first place in that round, going on to the semifinals, where I got knocked out because of one joke. And it was one joke. I should have tagged better. This year, I thought, kill it. I brought a brand new, not a brand new set, but about 2/3 newer material that I didn't do last year to impress the judges. And the same thing happened. I ended up in the hottest show of the week. Of the 8 comedians, everybody had killer sets. And this time, I wasn't able to pull it out for first place, which is a drag, but that's the way it goes. The important part is that I still met a lot of really great people, new comics, old friends, bookers, industry people. So I'll still get plenty of exciting new juice out of the event. But I wasn't able to get to the next round like I wanted to, which is kind of a drag. It was very strange because as soon as I walked up on stage, super cottonmouth, and I was fine before going on stage. I spent 20 years tramping around stages, so stages don't flip me out at all. But there was something, I don't know if the air conditioning was blowing at the stage or what it was, but as soon as I got up there, just immediate cottonmouth. And I was only on stage for 8 minutes for this particular set, so I didn't have water with me or anything like that. And I got up there about a minute in, and I was like, oh no, I have to sing in a few minutes because the closing part of my set was going to be a song. And so I managed to get through it all, but that kind of stuff really throws your timing off. And as we know in comedy, timing is everything. So I was a little bit uncomfortable. I don't remember much of the set, which means it went better than I think it did. I would say if I remember the set, it was a bad set. If I don't remember the set, it was probably pretty good. But I remember just a few little details about it here and there. But anyway, the festival was fantastic. I spent the week eating garbage. Did not do much gambling. I think I lost $1 or $2 playing video poker. Played in a poker tournament with all the other comedians. Did better than usual there. I played poker for 3 hours. Didn't win any money, but I lasted longer than I normally do, which is always nice. So now I'm back, and I'm not going to see any comedy this week. I'm not going to do any comedy this week because over the course of the festival, I saw 128 comedy sets. Now, when you go to the comedy club on your average Friday night, you see 3 comedians, right? I saw 3 shows a night for 6 nights in a row. And yeah, that's a lot of comedy. But we comedians have a higher tolerance for comedy, so it's okay. And all of it was so much fun. Really a great festival. So today on the show, Today on the show, I have a special treat for you. This is actually, strangely, a rerun. Now, you might think, oh, we're only 9 episodes in, but it's a rerun. No, not quite. Last year, some friends and I, we did a show called Being Blackbeard, a podcast called Being Blackbeard that was all about the show Crossbones. Ironically, since this show is called Under the Crossbones. But Crossbones, if you remember, was a TV show on NBC that starred John Malkovich playing a very bald and not hairy Blackbeard. That show only went 8 episodes, I think, on NBC, and then was canceled. And apparently the ratings weren't that good. We enjoyed the show. We thought it was very cool. But during the course of our podcast in talking about that show, we got to talk with Ezra Buzzington, who played the character of Eisengrim on that show. And so I thought it would be, since you probably missed that podcast, but probably were watching the show since you're a pirated person, then you may not have heard this interview that we did. And it was really fun, and we had a great time talking about it. So I thought I'd run it for you today. Ezra is a great guy. As you're going to hear in the interview, we had some bizarre technical problems with Skype just giving us tons of problems. But we left it in there. It turned into some funny stuff. So we did that. So if you watched Crossbones, then you're going to enjoy this interview with Ezra Buzzington. Ezra, he played Eisengrim. You may remember him. He was in Fight Club. He's apparently right now there's a Snickers commercial that features him. It's a Halloween Snickers commercial that's been running every year for the last 4 years. So that's out. I was hoping to catch up with him real quick to find out what he's doing now, but he is a busy working actor, so I wasn't able to do that. However, looking at his IMDb page, he's got a couple things coming up. There's a movie called Gone VR 360 and another one called The Chair that are coming up that you should go check out. So Ezra, super cool guy, and here it is. We're just going to jump into the interview, kids. Here we go. Ezra Buzzington. Wait, before we get to the interview, I forgot to mention you're going to hear an extra voice during this interview, and that is my co-host, Tony Diamco, who is a great very funny comedian. He's super, super funny. One of the first guys I ever went on the road with to tour with. And so that's going to be Tony Diamco. And I'll link him up in the show notes too. And you can check it all out. Okay, here's the interview with Ezra Buzzington. Okay, so we are here on the Blackbeard, Being Blackbeard podcast with Ezra Buzzington, who plays Oswald Eisengrim on the show Crossbones. Welcome to the show, Ezra.
Thanks a lot. I'm happy to be here because, as I said, you guys make me laugh.
Well, we try. It's we have no idea what we're doing on any of this. Neither one of us
shows. That totally shows.
Yeah,
it's quite clear that you pretty much have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes,
but that's what makes it funny.
Yeah, good. Yes. Well, we've never done a podcast before this, and we're not even used to being on this end of an interview. So it'll be interesting to find out what happens here.
Yeah, low expectations are our strength.
Yeah,
and versatility is something that can serve us all.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. So for our listeners who are not sure who Ezra is, he has been in a ton of things, lots of TV, The Middle, Bones, Criminal Minds, Justified, Weeds, movies like The Artist, The Prestige, The Hills Have Eyes, Fight Club, and my personal favorite, Me, Myself, and Irene.
Is that right? Is that your favorite?
It's one of my favorites because years ago I actually wrote a song based on a line in that film that started my comedy career. So I have.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I have you almost to thank for that.
And I got to tell you that movie is totally underrated. I mean, they got kind of screwed, I think, by that release because everybody was out to get them. It seemed at that point, and it's a shame because it didn't do particularly well in the theaters. But it was funny.
It was a funny film, yeah,
Absolutely.
And that was the start of my career. So maybe I have Jim Carrey to blame rather than thank for what I'm doing now.
Circle of life.
Or maybe the audience has Jim Carrey to blame.
That's
You
right.
happen to thank, they happen to blame.
Exactly. So on the show, have you guys filmed all 10 episodes already, or is that still going on?
We were lucky enough to spend about 6 months down in Fajardo and Ceiba, Puerto Rico.
Nice.
Shooting all 10 episodes. It was a straight to order 10 episode. Boom, just go and do them all and see what you end up with and then go home.
Very cool.
And that's exactly what we did. It was great. We were there from roughly mid-October to mid-March.
Well, that's the time to be in Puerto Rico. At least that's is cooler than doing it in the middle of summer, I would imagine.
From what I understand, that's very true. I was talking to somebody the other day at a restaurant, and they said, "Be glad you're not there now because it's just so incredibly hot." But I got to tell you, even if it's incredibly hot, when the breeze kicks up, and I mean, come on, it's the Caribbean. How fucking bad can that be? And it's absolutely gorgeous, and the people were great. It was just quite a feather in the cap for my career. I was very happy to have been there.
And
That's great.
And how excited were you when you got the call? It's like, hey, do you want to come to Puerto Rico and play pirate? I mean, that just sounds like a dream come true.
Seriously, right? It's funny. I was actually leaving the gym at that point, and my phone rang, and I picked up. It was my agent, and he goes, "What are you doing for the next 6 months?" I said, "Looking for work." "What the hell are you doing for the next 6 months?" He goes, "Well, they want you in Puerto Rico." And I said, "When?" And it's like Tuesday, and this was like Thursday.
Oh my gosh!
Bye. I'm gone. I'm packing a 6-month overnight bag, and I'm heading on down. And I went down and barely looked back. It was absolutely great. It was just an incredible experience. And also, you never know, of course, when you do, especially television, well, film as well, but especially TV, it seems. You never know what the dynamic is going to be. Will everybody get along? Will it be a problem shoot? Will it be an easy shoot? How hard will we have to work? All sorts of questions that nobody ever has the answer to until you actually start rolling. And luckily enough, and I'm not blowing any smoke here, I have no reason to do that. Everybody on this shoot, it was just incredible, I don't know if everybody was happy to be there or just happy to be working, but it really was a blessing on pretty much every account. It seriously was. The first couple of weeks were rough because everybody was just getting to know each other and we're starting to work together, and you have half a Puerto Rican crew and half a Puerto Rican, all of the background were Puerto Rican locals, and their language barriers, but once that was overcome, it was just amazing to watch everybody work together so beautifully. And again, it really was a blessing.
That's great. What was the audition process like?
I didn't have to audition for this part. This was straight to order.
Oh, so they just brought you in?
Straight to offer. Yeah, they brought me in. They saw my reel. They knew my work. And David Slade knew my work. We'd worked together, it's been about 8 years now, I think, together on a little industrial. And we'd always wanted to work together again. And we'd tried several times, but it just couldn't work out. And when this happened, he passed me by Neil Cross, and Neil really liked what I did, and so they offered me Oswald Eisengrim. Oh, okay. And what was even better was I was actually hired, for, so I think it was 6 out of 10 episodes. And Neil liked what I was doing with Oswald enough that he added me to 3.
Oh, okay.
So that was incredible. So it was a blessing as well. It was a great time.
Yeah, sounds like it. Now, you worked with John Malkovich before in Art School Confidential, right?
I did, in fact. I'd worked one day with John on Art School Confidential, which his company, Mr. Mudd, produced. They also had produced Ghost World, which I was also in. Uh-huh. And but I hadn't met John on Ghost World. He wasn't around, as far as I know. And it was an awkward meeting because I was completely naked.
Right.
Because my character is like the nude artist model in the art class, and I'm just walking around with my big old dick just hanging around. How do you do? My name is Ezra Buzzington. And we didn't talk a lot. First day. Nobody knew where to look.
Yeah, right. Funny. I'm sure that everybody looked you in the eye that day. Yeah.
Well, depending on what you're saying. No matter how many times I waved it in particular people's faces, they wouldn't look away. I don't know what the story was there. But yeah, I didn't get to know John on that shoot, obviously. And honestly, I was a little nervous to meet him. But oh my God, he's words just really don't describe, for me at any rate, what a fucking genius this guy is. I mean, he's so freaking smart and so brilliantly talented and so giving as an actor. Very often, especially with some names, you'll be given very little from them when it's your turn to shoot. But John was consistently there for absolutely everybody. And I think probably because his brilliant Chicago training. I'm a great fan of Chicago. I'm a Midwesterner. And I think Chicago actors are the best in the country. And the way he was trained, he just knows that if he's there to give the other actor what it is the other actor needs, then the entire piece will be better. And so he views it as his job. And it's just, we were all very lucky to have him.
That's great. Is he as intense as his characters generally are?
He's incredibly intense. He's very quiet. off camera with everyone that I saw, at any rate. I don't know his personal life, but on set. He was very quiet, and I would always approach with a little trepidation.
Sure.
But he was also incredibly open. Excuse me. He was just being himself and kind of zenning out the entire experience. And to be with him was an honor. It truly was. And to have any conversation with him at all, when we had several, it was just, I don't know, it was one of the most unusual experiences of my life. I have so much admiration for him that words honestly just can't describe it. And I kid you not. I don't blow smoke. I really don't. If I didn't like somebody, I wouldn't necessarily say it, but I certainly wouldn't sing their praises. And he is well worthy of any praises sung in his direction.
So we'll assume that anybody you don't mention you hate then. That's how that works.
Exactly right.
Yeah, all right.
I think that's a really good idea.
You haven't mentioned Tom Cruise even once, so...
I've actually been lucky enough not to have met Shorty yet, so I look forward to the day that will happen, and now it probably never will, because I'm sure he's a huge fan of this podcast.
I'm sure he's listened to all 6 episodes so far. Yes, I'm sure.
I'm still getting Scientology emails, so apparently he is listening.
Be careful what you wish for, dude. They're knocking on your door.
So your character is.
Did I lose you?
No, I think
I lost you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I have silence on my end.
Are we back yet?
How about now?
I'm wondering if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Now is the window of objects.
Are we there? Oh no! Damn it!
May glorious summer by the son of York. Devoured on his house. What happened there? Did I push a button? Did you push a button?
Oh, sometimes Skype just does that. It just drops out of nowhere. That's all right.
I bet
that was very true in Puerto Rico, by the way. That was awful. That was a pain in the ass. Every time I would Skype from our incredibly beautiful 4-star resort in Fajardo, the Skype would last like 5 minutes, and then the internet shuts out.
Of course.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, it was terrible first word problems we had. Terrible, I tell you.
I was terrified for a moment because I badmouthed Scientology, and all of a sudden the power went down, and I said,
man, you're gone again, dude.
Oh, are we gone again? All right, I'm just gonna hang up and try again. Yeah, there it goes.
Jesus hates me.
No, it's Scientology. We're not going to talk about them anymore.
You shouldn't have said, "Oh God!" Now I'm really creeped out.
Yeah, I know.
Just so you know, I'm gonna sleep with one eye open tonight.
There are people on our way to our houses right now for all of us. Get out of the house. Get out of the house now.
You know what? You laugh, but where do you live?
Yeah. I'm staying off the grid
Dude,
now.
Are you in the Bay Area? You're in San Francisco?
Yeah, San Jose right now.
Yes, and you're fine. I'm in fucking LA.
Right, yeah.
I am screwed. So how else can I answer anything about Crossbones for you without any spoilers, of course?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I mean, now you're we're actually recording this interview as episode 6 is airing. So we don't even know what's going on in it yet, because we haven't watched it yet. But it looks like your character is going to start to take a little bit bigger role over the next few episodes. Yeah.
That is true. He does. They saved the best till last.
There you go. There you go.
Honestly, hand to God, I don't know how much Neil had written of the Bible before we started shooting. I really don't know. I know that he was writing a lot while we were all there, and so things would affect the trajectory of characters as we went. And so I don't know if this was always the plan or what, but more happens with Eisengrim. Now, I have an incredibly huge backstory that absolutely nobody knows about but me, and this isn't really indicated much on the screen, but it was still, every actor has to do that.
Sure,
and,
yeah.
So you have history, and it's like the thing I was telling everyone, including Neil, was that my character, Oswald Eisengrim, was committed to 3 things and 3 things only, and not necessarily in this order. They were the sea, his male lover at this point in time, and Blackbeard.
Oh.
And over the course, again, not necessarily in that order, but over the course of the 10 episodes, he loses pretty much close to all of them. It was an interesting experiment for me as an actor to watch these things disappearing from my character and affecting his identity. Excuse me. And so what the things that he is compelled to do later in the series are justified when looked at through that prism.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really interesting character. I loved Oswald very, very much. He was misunderstood and, frankly, not shot anywhere near enough.
So, and I don't know if you can tell us this, but what does the future of the series look like past 10 episodes?
I wish to holy bejesus, who I mentioned earlier, that I knew. I don't know, honestly, how network TV works in terms of them notifying other than series regulars what the deal is with second seasons or third seasons or anything. I don't know anything about that because I'm mostly a film dude, even though I've worked a lot of TV. Excuse me, as far as my area of expertise is really more film. I'm also a filmmaker. For TV, I mean, I don't know, maybe they could tell me again on a Thursday and I'd be flying down on a Tuesday. I swear to God, I just know nothing. Any questions I've asked have been answered with, vague, well, we'll see kind of answers.
Yeah.
So I know exactly as much as you know about what happens with the future of Crossbones.
Okay.
Of course, I pray for it to go on because I love the show. I think it's freaking brilliant, and I don't think there are enough shows like it on network television.
No, certainly not. Certainly not.
No, I agree. And one of the things I'm a huge fan of is the writing, especially the dialogue back and forth between the characters. I really think there's a poetry and a even Shakespearean quality about it. But it's one thing for me to take it in as a viewer, but what's it like for you to read these words on paper and then rehearse and then exchange them with the other actors in the scenes?
Great question. And it's funny because I heard your last podcast and I heard you referencing Shakespeare, and you're right. The writing is intentionally written in that kind of language, not Shakespearean specifically, but
sure,
a more poetic language, because with the way people spoke in 17 and change hundreds was very different than the way we speak now, and it was far more poetical. And we only lost that in America starting really around the 40s and 50s, actually the 50s. There was there was liquidity to the language that we don't have now, which is, I think, probably why Neil appreciated and I assume went with the actors he went with, because the majority of them can handle language. And when every script I would get, when I would get the script, I would read it and I'd be stunned and amazed at how, well, first of all, how Richard Coyle and John Malkovich could memorize all of this with this and be so on point and ready. It was so freaking impressive. Sometimes if I had even just 5 words, I knew for a fact that Neil had labored over those very words. And I'm a writer as well, so I get that. I get the rhythm, I get the alliteration, I get the choice of one word over the other. And there's a very specific approach you have to take. And it's funny, with really, really, really good writing, Becca is a good example of this, I've found, with really good writing, the lines come almost automatically. They just come out. When I audition or I read for various, let's say, lesser invested shows, television shows, it's very difficult sometimes to remember the words they've chosen for us to speak, because frankly they don't just flow naturally. They're kind of bumpy, or they're clunky, or they're what the hell ever they are, and it's just not good writing. But with Neil, especially with Neil, there was this, as I said, liquidity to the language. When I was working on some of my later dialogue, I would have my recorder playing, my iPod playing in my ears, and as I'm working out at the gym or as I'm lying by the pool, working so hard in Fajardo, Puerto Rico, as I'm working on my tan, hearing the rhythms and finding the rhythms, and within that then finding Eisengrim's rhythms specifically, which is different than John's or different than Lowe's or different than any of the other characters, certainly Peter's. I don't know, it's a great question, and you're right that it's poetical, and it's intentionally poetical. And that's one of the things that worries me, that it won't do well on network, frankly, because, really, I mean, because this isn't English.
Very honest.
Yeah,
this is a big one. This is America, and we're used to the Kardashians, for fuck's sake.
Right. Yeah. I even find myself, I DVR the show, and I find I've got to rewind a couple of times to go, what was that? He said.
You have no idea how many times I had to reread lines just to make sure I knew what the hell I was supposed to be saying. But he didn't compromise, and I think that's great, as opposed to other pirate shows that might be on the air now. I think that Deal did not compromise in the language at all.
And I think people are getting a little more used to that idea with Game of Thrones and a lot of the HBO shows and things like that. So I don't think it's as far a stretch as it used to be.
Well, it's interesting. West Wing actually ran into that problem as well in their first couple of seasons because it was so fast and so clipped. And I assume House of Cards might even have this a little bit as well. But that's, a download, so it's a lot easier for people who already love the show and can follow it and are at that level can follow it. But with West Wing, they had trouble with people following it, certainly the first season. Simply because of the pace, if nothing, and the amount of information. With Neo, you're getting both. Well, actually, you're getting three. You're getting pace, bang, 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 very, very quick for the most part. You're getting poetical language, and you're getting content in a language you're not familiar with.
Right.
So it's very challenging. And NBC should really be lauded for.
Shit! Ow! Damn it!
So good.
And welcome back to the Eisengrim Show.
We got a caller.
NBC should really be lauded for
taking we've got a call for taking the risk. I don't know if it'll pay off or not. I mean, the ratings were certainly better this week, I've been told. The share went up like 50%, so that's a good thing.
Oh, that's a great thing.
Yeah, who the hell knows? I mean, I can't read that stuff. I really can't. I mean, the first episode I saw had almost like 5 million people. I thought, Jesus Christ, I've been doing theater for decades. And now more people have seen me barely do anything than who saw me play Hamlet. Which is like, kind of sucks in a way, but, what can you do? It is what it is.
Now, I actually want to ask you about the theater stuff, but before that, we have to hear the midget trollop story that you promised.
Oh, my God. I cannot believe when I was listening. It's funny because a friend of mine turned me on to this podcast when I was driving to Vegas. Uh-huh. So I got to listen to all pretty much of the episodes, except the most recent one, as I was driving to Vegas. And I was banging the steering wheel twice. Once when you're constantly referring to Claire, Kate Balfour, as the quartermaster's wife.
Right.
She is the quartermaster.
Oh, see, we're getting schooled. All right.
Seriously, dude. And I'm sitting there going, that's like totally unintentionally sexist. Or maybe it was totally, intentionally. It's like, I don't know what the fuck. But yeah, she's the one. She's got the cock there. She's the top. So there's that. And the other thing you kept talking about, midget trollops, and I'm like, oh my God, dudes, open your eyes. I don't know how much screen time she got, but we have a midget trollop. I love her to death, and Carla Michelle is her name. And if you actually go to my Facebook, you can find her. It's with Carla with a K, Carla Michelle, and she's gorgeous. And she's just itty-bitty. She's an itty-bit. She's a tiny little thing. And she's a trollop, and she's a local Puerto Rican actress, and they used her in the background quite a lot. Actually.
Funny.
In fact, I just posted, my guy just posted a thing on my fan page, Facebook fan page thing today, that had her in the picture. Excuse me. But yeah, so not only should there be a midget trollop, there is a midget trollop, and she's blonde, which is rare as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Now I have to go see the picture on your Facebook page for sure.
Definitely. You really do.
That is fantastic.
And just look her up. Just look her up on Facebook. It's Carla with a K, Michelle. And I would push her. I got to tell you, the background actors on this show, they're all buddies of mine now. They were great. First of all, they're experienced, wonderful, primarily union actors, and they were just great guys and women.
So they were using union background actors the whole time?
Actually, no. I meant equity when I said union, not necessarily SAG-AFTRA. I don't think they were using SAG-AFTRA background, actually.
Oh, okay.
But they were equity, a number of them.
So, yeah, let's talk theater a little bit, because, I mean, I was looking over your information today, and you seem to have a pretty considerable theater background. Tell me about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it doesn't pay. There's one thing I can tell you is that's why the hell do you think I'm in movies and TV? I did theater for a long frickin' time. I'm called, in the States, I'm known as the godfather of the fringe movement. Fringe being defined as fringe theater, any working company that has a season with an operating budget of $100,000 or less a year, a season. So...
Shit. I hate you, Skype. I really do.
Sort of fuck this interview is like hilarious. It really is. So quickly, before we lose touch again, started the first Fringe Theater Festival in the United States, which was in Seattle. I started that about 10,000 years ago, and then I assisted, starting with two other co-founders, the New York International Fringe Festival, which is the largest Fringe Theater Festival in the United States. And now I advise on the Hollywood Fringe Festival, which has been going for 5 years. And so my background in theater, I grew up on the boards. My mom was an actress, and so I started at the age of 9, gracing the stage with whatever the hell it is I bring to this thing. We did theater our entire lives, and that's kind of what I did, until I decided that I didn't want to starve anymore, and I needed to make some kind of money, and then I moved to LA.
So Seattle was the first one in the U.S. then?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay.
Seattle was the first Fringe festival in the United States. The very first in the world was at Edinburgh.
Right.
In the 40s, just after the war.
Yeah. Have you done Edinburgh?
No, I've not, actually. And a number of my friends have. In fact, I have a friend leaving, I think, tomorrow or the next day to take a show there called Hot Cat, which is a deconstruction movement piece based on Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
Oh,
which started here at a local Fringe theater.
Edinburgh is a crazy place in August. It's I did it in 2005, and it's absolutely insane.
There's a lot of stand-up there, right?
Ton of stand-up,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's where Craig Ferguson was found, too. He started at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Yeah, Eddie Izzard, Craig Ferguson, a lot of those guys.
Yeah, Eddie Izzard,
there.
that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about Eddie. In fact, when we were starting the New York Fringe, I happened to catch Eddie Izzard doing a show at, it wasn't La Mama, it was PS 122, I think. And I sent a note backstage saying, hey, we're going to start a New York Fringe Festival. Are you interested? And one of his people called and said, no, we're not. So, well, neither am I then, Eddie. Up yours. No. She's hilarious. It totally makes me laugh.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
He's one of my idols. Yeah, he really is.
He's hilariously funny.
Well, great.
So, yeah, that's that theater background. But I don't know, I feel like I'm taking up your entire podcast here.
Oh, no, not at all. We're actually going to do the regular podcast on Sunday. We're just going to do an extra long episode this time. So it's absolutely all good for sure. So this will be a treat for all of our dozens of listeners. We're actually up to dozens now,
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that.
We can say dozens with an S. We're very proud.
Very impressive. It's like my Facebook following.
There you go. Well, Ezra, man, we really appreciate you doing this. I think everybody's going to really like it a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This is great. I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I really hope you last through the rest of the episodes, and God willing, on into season 2.
Amen, brother. All
Absolutely.
right, you got it. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Take it easy, guys.
All right, bye-bye. And there it is, friends. That was our interview with Ezra Buzzington, who played Eisengrim on the show Crossbones. I hope you enjoyed that. I thought it was a really cool background perspective on some of the acting being done in that show. And eventually, when that show shows up on Netflix or somewhere like that, you can go check it out and see for yourself what was going on there. So as usual, today we got some comedy, we got some music to smooth you back into real life after the pirate talk here. And our comedy today comes from Jackie Cation. And if you have not seen Jackie Cation yet, please do that, because she is a super funny individual and you're definitely going to dig her. And the clip I'm going to play for you today is from her latest special called This Will Make an Excellent Horcrux. And if you're paying attention, that is a Harry Potter reference, kids, right there. And it's a good one because this album is a little piece of her soul. That's why it's a Horcrux. So I think you're going to really dig this. Jackie is really funny. She's one of my favorites, and we're going to play that. After that, we have some music from a band called Lolita Dark. A little bit different, a little heavier, a little nastier today. The singer of Lolita Dark is my good friend Reiko, who I have known for many, 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 many years. And I hadn't actually talked to her in a while, so it was nice to reconnect with her when I went to get a song from her, and the song is called Say Shun. So here we go. We got some comedy from Jackie Cation, and then the song Say Shun by Lolita Dark. Enjoy.
Here's the thing. I read almost anything. Fiction, nonfiction, literature, crap. I read it all. And in junior high, I don't read horror. That's the only thing I don't read. Don't read horror because it is scary. Congratulations, horror writers. You've already won. I'm not fighting that fight. Okay. But in junior high, I used to read a lot of romance novels, and that's what they were making fun of me all about my wall. But here's something I'm willing to admit to you. I still read some romance novels. It's still happening. Occasionally read a romance novel. Yeah, there's some silence. Hey, guys, let me tell you something. People get on stage all over the world. Comics do, and they talk about their love of porn and drugs, and audiences are like, interesting, fascinating. I get up, I admit that I occasionally read some poorly written prose, and there is some judgment. I am not sustaining the romance industry by myself up here, folks. It's not me. I do not make $1 billion a year just to spend on books. So, and it's no different than your creepy porn addiction. I will say that right now. I do not watch porn because I was born 1 million years old. And every time I've tried to watch porn, I end up yelling at the television, "You should call your mom." Just call her. She would love to hear from you. Just call her. It's very hard to get off on that.
And that's it for today's show, friends. I really appreciate you being here. Please make sure to go to iTunes, drop your 5-star reviews in there, type up a nice little comment for us. That really makes a huge difference in the future of this show. So I hope you can do that. Make sure you're subscribed. All the show notes will be at underthecrossbones.com. Lots of fun stuff. All the links to everybody in this episode will be there, and some cool additional stuff. And next week, we got something very cool for you. Once again, a completely different twist on the whole pirate subculture next week. And it's a really, really great interview that I think you're going to enjoy with David Engel. And that's it. That's our show for today. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you next week.